Most of us share the exact same sentiment. I'm ready to go to jail, and like I said, most of the people I know are absolutely ready to go to jail and take a beating, whatever it takes to... it's civil rights. It's what it is. It's civil rights for a different species other than just us this time.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I love ALF, but I don't agree with them in being nonviolent. It's going to be in the very near future that somebody busts into a slaughterhouse or a vivisection lab with guns, and they tell the slaughterhouse workers, you take those knives off those pigs' throats right now, or I'm going to shoot you.
This is just how it is. We got to be laughed at, mocked, thrown in jail. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
It takes persecution to change the world. Sadly.
I agree 100%.
No one has ever been arrested at one of our days of action.
We are the Protest Working Group.
And we want to give you all of the information you need and make you feel comfortable about joining us. Our protests are always nonviolent, and we do not target individuals or employees at the places that we protest. We have people trained to deal with the police, and no one has ever been arrested at one of our days of action.
And if you just Google Direct Action Everywhere and arrest, you will find on their same website almost boasting about the fact that so many people have been arrested. This one specifies arrest warrants issued.
Most of us share the exact same sentiment. I'm ready to go to jail, and like I said, most of the people I know are absolutely ready to go to jail.
Now we as a movement exist in the millions of individuals, but together we move as one. And these industries, the ones who exploit others, they feel what we feel, and they fear it.
According to one union, since the start of the year, activists graffitied or broke the windows of around 50 stores.
And they fear us, and they should fear us. For every single day, our numbers grow stronger, our conviction grows harder, and that change becomes ever more inevitable than it was the day previous. And they fear us because they know that we will not stop fighting, that we will never take a day's rest, and we will never take a day's break until the animals are liberated from the shackles that our species has imprisoned them within.
Equal rights means that the security at an event of this kind treats you the same, regardless of what your political ideology is. It doesn't matter if you're pro-racist or you're anti-racist. If you climb over that barrier, security is going to beat you with the same bat and put you in the same handcuffs and put you in the back of the same truck.
It's going to be in the very near future that somebody busts into a slaughterhouse or a vivisection lab with guns, and they tell the slaughterhouse workers, you take those knives off those pigs' throats right now, or I'm going to shoot you.
It's a little bit depressing for me to look on screen right now and see how many thousands of dollars worth of technology are here. I've got 2 computers, the microphone, the camera involved. And you guys know the video quality and the audio quality are still terrible. Unfortunately, I do not have the money in terms of support on Patreon to upgrade, so this is what you get. I also currently don't have any way to film outdoors. So aside from the sweat on my shirt right now, you don't get any sense of the world outside my window, but I'm living in the tropics. I'm living in the middle of Taiwan. It's significant that so many people sent in hate mail in response to my critique of Earthling Ed, uploaded less than 24 hours ago on this channel. Okay? But it's even more significant that not a single one of those people actually disagreed with the substance or content of my critique. Not one. This is the second time most of that video was uploaded. The intro was new. I'd uploaded the video before in the past with a different intro. So I had a new intro on what's basically a throwback video because I'd already put together this kind of thoughtful critique of the philosophy and activism of Earthling Ed, right? Now, a lot of the people, including some of the angriest and most offensive comments that were deleted, they included in passing, I agree with the point you're making here, but. I agree with what you're saying here, but. And what is it that comes after the but? In principle, the problem here is, and you guys mostly hear me speak well of democracy as an ideal and democracy as a real world system. You mostly hear me speak well of democracy on this channel. What they're saying is, you're correct, but on a very profound level, they think of politics as a popularity contest. And how dare you criticize somebody more popular than yourself? That's really what all of this boils down to. Okay? And they're profoundly wrong. One of the greatest defects of philosophy, one of the greatest problems with philosophy, is the extent to which it misleads the public into thinking of the political process as a popularity contest. Politics is not about popularity. When I say politics, I mean here neither political philosophy nor the pragmatic world of policy formulation, policy implementation. Neither is a popularity contest. Ultimately, politics is about right and wrong, correct and incorrect, moral and immoral, effective and ineffective. Do you think there's any country in the world that sets speed limits by a popularity contest? Hey guys, who wants the speed limit to be faster on this highway? There's a highway, major highway in the city. Who wants to raise the speed limit? Show of hands. Let's do a quick vote. You think you can't get 51% of the population to vote for higher and higher speed limits? No speed limits at all? Hey guys, who wants seatbelts? Who wants to ride a motorcycle without wearing a helmet? How popular is that? How unpopular is it when for the first time in a country, the police actually enforce a law requiring safety helmets, requiring seatbelts, and they start charging fines, start actually punishing people for not living up to that standard? How unpopular is it to be pulled over and told, no, you're in the wrong because you broke the speed limit? A lot of policies in democracy are deeply, deeply unpopular, especially when we're talking about ecology. It's not going to be popular for people to be responsible for the ecological consequences of the decisions they make, neither individual people nor big corporations. Okay, politics is not a popularity contest. If you look at the most popular movie that came out in the last year, most popular movie from the last 12 months, is that the most important movie? Is that the most meaningful movie? Is that the most educational movie? Is that the most politically significant movie? Make a list from the past 10 years. You can Google this. The past 10 years, the most popular movies. Are they the most meaningful? Are they the most politically significant? Pretty much never. Okay. Who were the most popular leaders in the vegan movement during the last 5 years? I can tell you because I criticized all of them. Gary Yourofsky. People were shocked when I criticized Gary Yourofsky. Many people were deeply, deeply shocked. And also, many people sent in fan mail thanking me, saying, wow, you drew attention to problems in Gary Yourofsky's philosophy that I'd never thought of, and problems that he was doing pragmatically. Gary Francione, Freely, Durian Rider. Today, even somebody like Supreme Banana. These people are popular. Okay? Popular doesn't mean meaningful. Popular doesn't mean right rather than wrong. Okay? I mean, what am I going to tell you here? Do you really want to commit to being in a movement that will blindly follow whoever happens to be popular? So what's happening psychologically for the people writing into me, and again, I'm generalizing, but I'm generalizing about people who actually wrote in responses. When they say, you are correct, but how dare you? I agree with what you're saying here, but you should silence yourself. You shouldn't dare to criticize this guy because he's popular, he's making money, he's having whatever social impact. Guys, that is exactly the same response the majority of vegans had when I dared to criticize Gary Yourofsky, which is say they admitted that I was right, but they still opposed it. It's how people responded to my daring to criticize Wayne Xiong, the leader of DXE, Direct Action Everywhere, my daring to criticize Durian Rider, my daring to criticize Freely. Okay? I don't want to be popular. I want to be right. And I'm not here speaking to the majority of vegans. I'm not speaking to the majority of people on planet Earth. I'm speaking to the minority, however small, who are also interested in being ethical, in being correct, in being right, and in doing something for the future of the movement that's effective. So if that's you, hit me up. Let's save the planet. And if that's not, change the channel. I replied to someone's comment. It was actually a comment on another video. Somebody who was shocked at how the particular video got so many thumbs down. And I replied to him and just said, if you want public approval, tell the public things they already want to hear. It was neither convenient for the American left nor the American right to face up to the fact that the United States, even under Ronald Reagan, supported and armed the Khmer Rouge. The Khmer Rouge were communists within Cambodia, and they were communist extremists within Cambodia. And the United States supported them in their war against other communist factions. So it was a communist versus communist civil war, and the United States actually supported one group of communists. It wasn't a secret. It simply remained unknown because nobody wanted to know. In a sense, I'll be haunted by that forever. And it shapes my approach to both politics and personal narratives. So I'm keeping it real with you guys. When I look at the history of the United States, Canada, and Europe within my lifetime, this is the pattern I see. There are people who want to believe, and there are people who are willing to know the truth. And they're two different groups of people, and within any political movement, they never mix. If what you want to believe is that the American army is always on the side of truth and justice and democracy in the American way, you can believe that, or you can learn truth from facts. And you can face up to the fact that, wow, the United States of America supported some of the most notorious mass murderers in the history of the world, and they were specifically communist mass murderers, Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. And you can start learning from there. That's who I want to be. So I don't know if the leap of inference is hard for you guys to make. If you want to believe that Gary Yourofsky is a hero for the vegan movement, there are a lot of things you're going to have to ignore about Gary Yourofsky, and so on for Durian Rider, Wayne Seong, and DXE, and all these other examples. There were really, really important problems with each of these to criticize, and partly because of those problems that I did criticize, a lot of those movements fell apart. But my critique has also been constructive, and some vegan leaders have responded positively to, or they've adjusted what they're doing, either in terms of rhetoric or pragmatics, in response to the critique I've offered. Way back in the day, years and years ago, I know that the leadership at DXE, they saw my criticism of what they were saying about the history of India, what they were saying about Mohandas Gandhi. You probably know him as Mahatma Gandhi, famous leader in the history of India. And, it was a nuanced critique of what they were saying. But I was also pointing out, look, you guys haven't even read one book about this history. What you're saying is really wrong about Gandhi and this history, so why are you doing it? And I actually do think I know that they heard it. I heard back from them both directly and indirectly that at that time they were watching the criticisms on my channel. I think probably they stopped later, just to guess. And I think they really adjusted their messaging and said, okay, we're not going to lean on this fictional version of what happened in the history of India. Let's stick to historical examples that we know about or that make more sense in comparison to the vegan movement. So, all of this criticism could be responded to constructively. But what's shocking and stupid is that it's not Earthling Ed who's having this negative reaction. It's you guys in the audience, because you just want to make heroes out of anyone who happens to be popular. So I have a response here. This is just reading directly from the comment section. Someone who commented, he's using the name Ben Desmond, and evidently English is his second language. So there were a lot of errors in the comment, so I'm just going to paraphrase it rather than reading it directly. But what he says, I think, is significant here. He says, the problem is you don't understand human psychology. He's saying, I don't understand human psychology. And by the way, he does say, don't get me wrong, I watched this video and I agree with most of what you said. Like, he actually does agree with my criticism of Earthling Ed. But he says, when people start doing face-to-face activism, like street protests, street activism speeches, these kinds of dialogues, you need to be at 100% confidence in yourself, in the same way that during a boxing match, people need this kind of confidence. So this psychological, over-the-top, I guess, macho confidence that people adopt in order to deal with the format of street activism, face-to-face dialogue with mediators. He says, so you must, at the least temporarily, avoid any sense of doubt or any self-questioning. Do you not think that's a little bit tragic? I mean, there's a sense in which I think he's correct, and yet he's terribly morally wrong. It may be true that, as he says, people, probably including Gary Yourofsky is probably a great example, people want to put themselves in this over-the-top, combative, confident frame of mind. But then even looking at the example of Earthling Ed, what are the effects of that? You don't think Earthling Ed confronts people with this, trumped up confidence, confronts them on the street and gives them this completely irrational, easily refuted philosophy. He says to them, hey, in the same way that, first there was black rights, and then there was women's rights, and, now we got animal rights. The logic he presents of eliminating barriers of less than and greater than so that people have equal rights. And then the next step is for a wild bear to have equal rights with a human being, is for a cockroach to have equal rights with a human being. I think a lot of people will respond to that, his confidence, face to face, just with a kind of leery detachment, like, okay. And then they're going to walk away, and within the 30 minutes following afterwards, they're going to come to the conclusion, vegans are crazy, or at least this particular vegan is presenting a philosophy and a narrative that's laughably insane. How else, really, could they respond to this? Now, I'm saying this is after they walk away, because if you're having this over-the-top, self-confident demeanor, who's really going to want to dispute it with you? You're just as ridiculous as any other manic street preacher. You're just as ludicrous as someone preaching Catholicism or Hinduism on the street corner. And if people listen to you at all, you're really ultimately sabotaging the movement while you're pretending to strengthen the movement. And how are we going to improve, guys? I said in that earlier video, steel sharpens steel. Who else, go on, you tell me, who else has engaged in productive, constructive criticism of Earthling Ed? I don't think I've ever seen a single other YouTube channel do this. Ultimately, the question is, how is the movement going to progress? Stumbling in the darkness through hero worship of whoever it is that manages to get 10,000 viewers on YouTube or $10,000 a month in donations? Do you want to be popular, or do you want to be right? Do you want to follow the trend of whatever happens to be popular, whether that's Gary Yourofsky or Durian Rider at the given moment? You want to be a sheeple who just follows whatever's popular, whether that's PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, or DXE, Direct Action Everywhere? Or do you want to be someone who's actually engaged in distinguishing effective from ineffective, good from bad, right from wrong? I know what real politics is. Earthling Ed, as far as I know, he studied theater in university. He studied acting. I studied politics, philosophy, languages. I have a very different background. With Earthling Ed, I see an actor who is fundamentally acting out the same script again and again and again. And yes, as this guy observes, he does it with a kind of confidence. This guy compares it to a boxer going into the boxing ring with confidence. But guess what? That's false confidence. If you're driving a car and you don't know where you're going, like you've misinterpreted the map, confidence is not necessarily a virtue. What's virtuous is to be open-minded, self-critical, have detachment, learn from your mistakes. And the first step towards learning from your mistakes is noticing your mistakes or being willing to listen when somebody else points them out to you.
À-bas-le-ciel.
The sun will one day set on this world and a new dawn will rise. Out of the ashes of violence, hope will rise. Can you feel it as it transmutes from something that we only used to be able to dream of to something that exists in front of us, something we can see, something that is tangible? Change. The change that is coming.
Clown college. I'm not going to enroll in that clown college. That advertisement had no effect on me whatsoever.
Now we as a movement exist in the millions of individuals, but together we move as one. And these industries, the ones who exploit others, they feel what we feel, and they fear it. And they fear us. And they should fear us. For every single day, our numbers grow stronger, our conviction grows harder, and that change becomes ever more inevitable than it was the day previous. And they fear us because they know that we will not stop fighting, that we will never take a day's rest, and we will never take a day's break until the animals are liberated from the shackles that our species has imprisoned them within. We will never take a day's rest, and we will never take a day's break. We will never take a day's rest, and we will never take a day's break.
Hey, Homer, the section you're supposed to be monitoring is on fire.
Clowns are funny.
The world that we want, that vegan world, exists out there in front of us in the palm of our hands. And all we have to do is reach out and take it.
I think I'll have some wine. Yes, homie?
That's it! You people have stood in my way long enough! I'm going to clown college!
Now what lies ahead of us will not always be easy. We will feel pain, we will feel anguish, we will feel despair, and we may even feel hopelessness. These industries will spread lies. They will try to scam people. They will try to deceive us. They will question our integrity. They will question our individual characteristics and our motives, and they will try and drag our image through the mud to try and make us no longer credible. But we have one thing, the truth. And that is all that we need. For too long,